Hello, and welcome to Sideways. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone who always told you things were your fault, or who made you challenge your own sense of reality to the extent that you began to doubt whether or not you really knew what you were doing or who you were? This week, we're talking about how to deal with someone who chips away at your sense of self in order to maintain control, and the ways you can go about taking back power. In addition, Martin has an Apple-related disappointment, and we debate the sports we think we could handle at the Winter Olympics. Gaslighting.
Just put my phone on silent as well. Job done. Anyway, how's it going?
All right. How's it up your end?
Not good. The farmer's market was called off because of storm debris. Couldn't get me apples and stuff. Gutted, mate.
Oh, so what? The site of the farmer's market was strewn with broken branches.
Well, that's what they said. When I got over there, it looked all right. I didn't know till I got there it was called off.
You're walking around on your own.
I was.
looking for stalls.
Just like a farmer's, mate. I couldn't believe it. Well, I looked on the website and it said it was on. So I got across there and there was nothing there at all. And then when I got back, I looked on their Facebook page and said, "Oh yeah, it's been called off." So it was my fault really. Perhaps I should have delved further. I just trusted their website, which I perhaps shouldn't have done.
I think you were indulging in a bit of magical thinking. You were hoping that it was going to be on, so you didn't check too deeply. You're without apples and pears then.
Well,
and that's not Cockney rhyming slang for anybody who thinks it is.
No. I've got to go and get some from elsewhere now, but I'll survive for a while, I'm sure.
Like Gloria Gaynor.
I'll tell you what I want to talk about today.
Well, I was just going to say, the whole farmer's market thing is your own fault, isn't it?
It was my own fault.
Yeah, I just thought that might be a little segue into.
I see. Yeah, you're trying to convince me that I'm wrong, even when I'm right.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, it does need to segue nicely into gaslighting.
Excellent.
I mean,
you're doing extensive research on this, haven't you, this week?
Well, I sort of have, really. It's just I got a bit too deeply into it, further than I thought I was going to. But
you even watched a film, I understand.
I did. I mean, it's a serious subject, this, isn't it?
It is.
Gaslighting, it comes up quite regularly in groups.
I bet it does. Does.
And when I'll mention it about gaslighting, people often don't know what I'm talking about. So I thought it'd be a good idea perhaps to throw some light on the matter, if I can use that phrase.
Throw some gaslight on the matter.
Well, just any sort of light, mate, because it seems to be a little bit shrouded in mystery as to exactly what it's all about.
That's interesting. I'm quite surprised that a lot of people don't know what it is. Do you think I wonder if that is generally representative of the population? I would have thought that it was quite well known, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
I think people know the effects of it, but don't actually know the term and where it comes from and the history of that. So,
right. And
just before we start, though, quick congratulations to the GB ladies curling team. I watched the replay this morning, because I think it was on the middle of the night. Who won a gold medal, which is we're quite rubbish, aren't we? At Winter Olympics generally.
Well, we're quite good at curling, aren't we?
We're quite good there, yeah. It's always the Scottish girls. They seem to have obviously got a lot of curling rinks up in Scotland, haven't they? So,
could you do curling with your wonky elbow, do you think?
Not really. Yeah, I could do that, no problem at all, mate. Yeah, have me dodgy knees. I'll be sliding. I could maybe. It would be a bit tricky, but I'm sure I better get. It looks easy, doesn't it, mate?
Well, actually, you'd be good at the sliding bit, wouldn't you? Because you always wear inappropriate footwear when it's slippery, so you'd probably be really good at that. You probably wear your carpet slippers out there on the old.
Sure.
What do they call it? It can't be a curling rink, can it? I don't know what it is. But
I don't know.
We are quite good at curling, and it's the other thing about curling is it's quite sedate, isn't it? I'm always struck when I'm watching the Winter Olympics how dangerous most of those sports are.
Yeah.
And I always think to myself, curling's about the only one I could have a go at.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't appear full of jeopardy.
It doesn't.
It's like the worst that can happen to you there is you slip over or stub your toe on a stone.
Well, I took it one stage further. We used to play American shuffleboard, which is like a tabletop version of curling.
I remember it well.
They tried to introduce it into some of the pubs. Didn't really take off, but it was a bit of fun while it lasted.
Did they have it down the George? Where did they have that? It was the George, wasn't it?
They did have it down there, yeah.
I used to like a bit of American shuffleboard.
Yeah, it's good. Anyway, just look at the background of it. I did watch the film this week, Gaslight.
You can give us a definition.
Yeah, I am, but I'm sort of leading into that because
all right.
You mentioned the film much too early than that was dictated by my notes. I'm just trying to work my way back in.
Well, you should know by now that if you give me too much information about what you want to talk about, I will try and pull you this way and that to put you off.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So it's my own fault again, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's not me.
My self-esteem is getting shattered. We'll come on to that. The term is derived from the title of a. Well, it was originally a British stage play back in 1938. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then it was made into the film Gaslight in the UK in 1940. And they did a remake in the US in 1944, which I haven't watched yet.
All right, Barry Norman.
Which I may well, Mark Kermode. I may well watch that at some point. But I loved the film. I mean, it's a lovely old black and white film full of charm and naivety and just fantastic. But it illustrates what I want to talk about perfectly well. I mean, so the term gaslighting, yes, it refers to trying to convince someone they're wrong about something, even when they're right. I think in its rawest form. Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems to be one of the major tools of your narcissist, isn't it? I mean, it works in well. They love to use a bit of gaslighting.
It's not the preserve of the narcissist, though. I think we should establish that. No, it isn't. No, but it is one of their tools that is used by them quite extensively. What? It's certainly a tool that is extensively used by someone who wants to be in control.
It is, and I for further explanation on that, because that's quite a light introduction to the term. I went onto the Relate website, and it's really good, and it covers a lot of areas in this, which again I've had to cut down quite a lot. But I'll include the link perhaps on the Facebook posting, because I think there's a lot of good information on there.
And you can also include the link to the film, which is shown in its entirety on YouTube, isn't it?
I can. In fact, rather strangely, I watched it on my VR headset yesterday, which was
Did you because you're actually in it.
Well, no, it doesn't. You don't get surrounded by it, but you're watching it then on a massive screen. You're in the cinema, right close to a massive screen, and you do get totally immersed in it. It's a great experience. But anyway.
You didn't come out feeling emotionally shattered then?
Well, I could see a lot of what was being illustrated. I can see it around me in people's relationships. But what the Relate website tells us, and I'll read out a couple of the bits now because I think it sums up quite nicely. It said most commonly it takes the form of frequently disagreeing with someone or refusing to listen to their point of view. In its most marvellous form, it can be a sort of pure pettiness or an unwillingness to be proven wrong. But in more extreme cases, it can be a real form of abuse.
Yeah.
When it's done repeatedly over a long period of time, it can have the effect of making someone doubt their own ideas about things or even question their sanity. And that really does come across in the film. I think that really sums up what gaslighting is in a nutshell. And it goes on to say, it can have a highly negative effect on a person's self-esteem and confidence. In certain situations, someone might deliberately gaslight their partner as a way of controlling them, a serious form of emotional abuse that is never acceptable.
Yeah, it makes you question your whole reality.
It does. It also goes on to say that sometimes the person doing the gaslighting doesn't even know they're doing it. Sometimes it's much about their own insecurities, about being wrong or having less power in a relationship, rather than just having an outright active desire to undermine their partner.
Yeah, I mean you mentioned narcissists earlier on. That's the kind of the core issue with narcissism. If you're a narcissist, you genuinely believe that you're right about the things that you're saying, which is why narcissists never end up in therapy, because they genuinely believe they're right and that everybody else is wrong, which is essentially what is happening when you're being gaslighted. Someone is telling you, no, you're wrong, you're misunderstanding that, you're being dramatic, you're making too much of this.
It came up recently in group, and it was when I watched the film, I could see the parallels were so strong, where someone was actually hiding stuff away and making them think that the other person made them think that they'd lost them or misplaced them, or didn't know what had happened to them. And it was quite deliberate in the film. And obviously I can't comment on the recent case we were talking about in Groups, but it was when you see it happening, you think, well, how can someone do that to another person? I was wondering, do you ever get people coming in for therapy? You do sort of two people coming in, partners coming in, don't you, sometimes?
Yeah, I do couples work, yeah.
Yeah. Is that ever something you come across?
I think you tend to encounter it more when you're working with one person, because they'll come and tell you what is happening in their relationship. Yeah. There again, if you're in obviously it does happen that people will go into couples work when one person is being gaslighted, but I think it's probably more likely in that scenario that the partner who is doing the gaslighting will not go to therapy.
Yeah.
Because they're more likely to say, well, it's not I haven't got a problem. I'm not going to therapy with you. You've got a problem. You go and sort it out. I mean, in a sense, the gaslighting itself coming to the fore when the question of going to therapy comes up. So I think that's probably why it tends to, in my experience, it tends to manifest in one person coming and saying, I've got some real problems in my relationship. This is what's happening. And so someone will kind of reveal, I think this, but my partner keeps telling me that. Then it starts to become clear what's actually going on. And then, of course, you have the opportunity to work through that with the person in front of you. So I think that happens more regularly.
Yeah, I think it's perhaps more prevalent in the recovery community, because people are put into that position and their addiction is being used as a big stick to beat them with. And they say, well, no, you're going crazy. This is what's happening. It's because you're an alcoholic, because you're a drug addict. And no, I'm not going to go to Al-Anon. I'm not going to go and learn about this disease. It's your problem. You sort it out. Mm-hmm. And that's the sort of attitude which seems to come across quite often. Yeah,
I think the other thing, probably the other reason why it's so prevalent in the recovery community is because, as we've discussed many times before, if you're an active alcoholic, your self-esteem will already be shot. So it doesn't take much for someone to tell you you're wrong, you're getting this wrong, you're mad, for that person on the receiving end of that to think, yeah, that's probably right. When the resistance to gaslighting, or the only place resistance can really come from consistently is emotional resilience.
Yeah.
And if you're not emotionally resilient, you are going to be subject to gaslighting. And the other thing, of course, is if you are vulnerable and you don't think much of yourself, you are naturally going to attract people who will control you.
Yeah.
And I've often spoken to people about this and they say, well, yeah, but I didn't know that when I met this person. But you do. Something in you recognizes something in that person. And that's how we tend to make the same mistakes in relationships time and time again. If we feel we're not good enough for a healthy relationship, we tend to find ourselves drawn towards people who will bear out that belief.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And when you are in the throes of active addiction, someone coming along and gaslighting you sort of plays into your own narrative, that exactly. The way you see yourself, and you feel like you deserve to be treated that way sometimes as well. So it's a tough one to break through and to get away from. But which is what I wanted to really talk about next, is to how do we address the situation?
Yeah, well, people tend the thing that people tend to instinctively do when they feel as if there is a problem in their relationship, whether it be gaslighting or anything else, if you can see some sort of faulty dynamic in your relationship, the thing that people often do is hang around waiting for their partner to change. People will say, well, if only my partner would stop doing this, or if only my partner would do a bit more of that. And, that's where the difficulty with gaslighting really starts, because your partner is not going to change. So the only person that can change in that dynamic, in that relationship, is you. You have to change. And I think there is, you may be coming on to talk about this, but I think part of the way through that is to find some ways in which you can shore up your own emotional sense of certainty.
That's probably an additional one, actually, because I've got, again, when I was looking at various sources as to look as to how you address this situation, there's several points that came up, which came up across a number of platforms. So I just wanted to talk through these with you, if I may. I mean, the first one is, it said, if you think this is happening to you, make sure you do talk to family and friends, people you trust who can give you an objective opinion on it, because again, when you're in the middle of it, it is quite difficult, isn't it, to be objective and to understand, especially if it's gone quite a long way down the line, and you've been seriously doubting your own sanity. Your own view on it is going to be completely distorted. So getting a third party, and that's why when people come along to our peer support groups and talk about it, we can give a little bit more clarity on it. We can see it from the outside. And I think people do take away a lot from that when we have those discussions.
Yeah, that in itself, though, is, can be very difficult, because if you are being gaslighted by your partner won't really want you to talk to other people. Won't really want you to have other perspectives. And they'll probably, when you go back and you say, well, I've been speaking to my friend so-and-so, and they say, this, if you're being gaslighted, your partner will say, well, so-and-so would say that, wouldn't they? Because,
exactly.
What do they know? They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what it's like to live with you. I mean, you're a complete arsehole most of the time. So, So it's like, that's why I say working on your own certainty of yourself is so important. Yeah. Because it's important to recognize that if you're being gaslighted, the person who's gaslighting you will do their damnedest to knock down every sort of boundary that you put up.
Certainly we see that quite a lot, where a partner will try and stop them coming to groups.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they feel they're being talked about, and it's not going to be in a very positive way.
Yes. So if you think about someone being stopped from going to group, how might a partner stop you from going to group? They might say, I don't think you should go to that group anymore. I don't think it's doing you any good. You come back and you're grouchy, or you come back and you're grumpy. It's like, that's more gaslighting.
It is. But also they get fed the line, well, you've been going for several weeks now. How come you're not cured?
Exactly. It's all gaslighting. So I think that's what makes it so difficult. It's like a Russian doll. It's hard to kind of step away from it to the extent that you can see what's happening, because it becomes kind of meta. As you're trying to escape from the gaslighting, you're being gaslighted to keep you in it. That's why it's so hard. Why it's so hard.
It is a tough one.
You need a therapist, really.
Well, I'm coming on to that. Yeah. That is one of the points. But the next point that I came across was to try and understand it. Try and understand what they're doing. What is they doing it out of this desire to control you, or because they struggle with the idea of not being in control of themselves? It's a strange dynamic, isn't it, that's going on there when that is introduced into a relationship. It really is a push me, pull you sort of situation.
Yeah, I mean, that again, I'd say, yes, of course, that's useful to know. But my own personal feeling is, pragmatically, that's hard to do. Yeah. Because what it requires in order to do that is to be able to separate yourself sufficiently from what is happening to understand the other person. And sure, if you can do that, that's really useful. But I think that's tough. That's very tough.
And and again, the third parties looking in from the outside maybe had to shed a little bit of light on that. Yeah. There's another. The next point, which again is tough, which is to communicate with your partner. Let them know how it's making you feel. And then they need to understand how they're making you feel. If they aren't doing it deliberately, then that may well shift the dynamic in the relationship to a more positive plane. But it is tough, isn't it? Especially if someone is doing it from a narcissistic background, then they're not going to accept communication is the right way to deal with it, because once they start to communicate, it starts to weaken their power.
Yeah, I think there are kind of two things to think about there. One is, yes, of course, it is useful to flag how you're feeling, because there is a possibility that your partner is gaslighting you, not really realizing what they're doing, and it is coming from a place of their own insecurity, sure. Yeah. But the other thing that is absolutely critical in this is thinking about your own safety. Yeah. Sometimes challenging a partner who is gaslighting you will actually put you in not only more emotional danger, but physical danger. So I think, there's no blanket piece of advice for that. You have to consider your own physical safety. And if you believe that challenging your partner is going to put you under threat, then don't do it. But secondly, reflect on that. If you're in a relationship where you fear your partner and you fear telling your partner that he or she is making you feel insecure and worried and think you're going crazy, that in itself is probably indicative of there being something significantly wrong.
Yeah. And the next point follows on from that, really. well, it flags up what we've been saying earlier on, and it sort of draws a big red line underneath this one. You know, if you feel that they're doing it intentionally to you, it's important to understand that it's not okay. It can't carry on. And they go on to say that if you've got to seek help in this situation. And they quote the National Domestic Violence Helpline, which obviously you can ring them when you get the opportunity to do so. And their support workers will help you understand what you're going through. They'll come across this so often. They'll be able to talk you through it and talk you through the potential ways to address it.
Yeah, I think it's easy for us to underestimate the impact of emotional abuse. You know, it's obvious that physical abuse is of a great peril to us, but long-term emotional abuse, similarly devastating.
Yeah.
If you think you are being gaslighted, don't think that it's insignificant. Don't think it's something that doesn't really matter, because it absolutely does matter.
Yeah, it does, and I think that I'll put that link on the Facebook page as well, to the National Domestic Violence Helpline. It's
going to be a long post, isn't it?
Well, I should put it on perhaps in the comments. Yeah, put some of the links down there. Otherwise, it's going to become a little bit unwieldy. But the last point really was to, because Relate have their own counsellors, but it implores you to seek out a counsellor. For either party or both of you to talk it through, because it can't stay as it is. Something has to change.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why therapy, counselling in this situation is potentially so helpful and useful is because having someone to be able to talk to who's not otherwise involved in your life is so important, because particularly when you're in a situation where you are being, by definition, made to feel as if you're going a bit nuts. People will say, well, I wonder if this has happened and I've been thinking this, but my partner tells me it's not right. Having someone to talk to about that without them kind of leaping in and saying, oh, well, I expect this is happening, or you shouldn't worry about it, or, well, why don't you leave them? Having the opportunity to speak and be listened to, I think, is really critical in a situation like that. And to feel that someone is supporting you.
And that's right. And to having a third party that is disengaged from the situation, I think, is vital. Yeah. Because, I've known cases where the person doing the gaslighting has deliberately gone around to the friends and family of the person that they're gaslighting,
exactly,
and put things in place. By saying, and getting them on their side,
exactly,
building a moat around this poor person that's in the middle of it.
Exactly.
And so it is, you've got to, let down the drawbridge and go to someone that will look at it impartially.
Have you got any more castle metaphors?
I haven't, no, but I'm getting into them at the moment. No.
Yeah, that's moats and drawbridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I did have
a bit of emotional armour, don't you?
We're going all medieval now, aren't we?
You need a banquet of emotional tools to deal with it, don't you?
The easiest way is to pop the gaslighter into an Iron Maiden, close the door.
Very good.
But that's really as far as I wanted to take this, because I said we could have gone into it an awful lot further, but I think
I've got one other thing that I feel like I need to add on the end.
Good.
And it might be a bit of a downer, but of course this is a bit of a downer as a subject.
Well, yeah.
Mostly, if you're being gaslighted, the most effective way out of that situation would be leave the relationship.
Yeah.
That'll mostly be it, because particularly if you're being gaslighted by someone, even if they don't kind of know they're doing it, but if there's no recognition of it, no acceptance of it, and that coercive control is something that shows no signs of abating, there really is only one way out, and that is leave. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah, obviously we couldn't say that as a sort of blanket advice, but I think it's critical, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not blanket advice, but I think, the reason I think it's important is because, as I said earlier, quite often in relationships, people will stand around waiting for their partner to change. And there are some situations in which the likelihood of the partner changing is slim to non-existent.
Yeah.
And in those situations, that's why it's important to rebuild your emotional resilience, because you have to recognize that even if you are to walk away from this relationship that you've invested a lot in, that you'll still be all right. And of course, when you're at your most vulnerable, being told that you don't know, which way is up, you're not going to feel that you can walk away from a relationship like that because you feel as if you're not capable of doing anything.
It is a toughie, but I think by highlighting it, perhaps people can start to make a little bit of headway to understand what's going on, because it is a tricky road for everyone to if you're thinking of moving away from a relationship. There's a lot to be considered, but if gaslighting's involved, then it may well be the way forward. So what do you want to do then, mate? Do you want to go onto the gratitude list, or have you bothered to think about one this week or not?
Yeah, I've got one. This week I am grateful that nothing blew off my house or blew out of my garden or damaged me in any way during the storm. So that seemed to me to be something not only topical, but something to be genuinely grateful for when you see all the videos of flying wheelie bins and trampolines and fence panels and people being blown over, which admittedly is funny, but I was still grateful that it didn't happen to me or any of my loved ones. It'd be funny if it had happened to you, but you haven't told me that.
No, nothing's happened to me. I know that my youngest daughter, the tree in the next door neighbour's garden blew down and took the fence out.
Nice.
Which leads me on to my gratitude. Really as well, because I went down to see. I was grateful to have the day off of work and to be able to go and see my youngest down in Surrey, which was nice. And I was picked up by my oldest daughter and her partner.
Lovely.
And I was able to sit in the back of the car with my little grandson.
Nice, like a proper granddad.
Yeah, on the way down to Surrey. So that was great. So I had a lovely day with them all. So I was really grateful for that.
Was that before the storm?
It was before the storm, yeah.
All right. I was going to say, because if it had been after, you could have fixed the fence while you were down there.
It was the day before. Yeah, and the amber weather warnings were already starting to come about. So we got that down there on the Wednesday and got back in time for it start to kick off on the Thursday. Yeah,
because you and Les put my fence up in my garden.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's standing very firmly.
It is, and whenever I think about the fence in the garden, I always think about how hard it was for you to dig down that route out at the bottom of the garden when you were trying to get the fence posts in. It was hilarious watching you really sweating up doing that.
Well, I think you deliberately didn't tell us because it was covered over with loads of moss and dirt so that we couldn't see it when we quoted. We didn't know that we was going to have such a difficult job because that would have banged the price up. So, I felt let down by your attitude on that one.
Oh, dear, it was funny.
But it stood the test of both time.
It did, it's still standing even through a violent storm like that. So fair play to you.
Yeah, it shows you the quality that we normally are associated with.
Yeah, normally. Yeah,
normally. Yeah. So that just really brings me on to my Spotify search.
There must be some songs with gaslight in the title.
There are. Well, there was one called Gaslighting Abbey by Steely Dan, which was, I'm not a Steely Dan fan. I don't know if you are, but it was pretty dreadful.
I don't mind Steely Dan, but I can imagine that you wouldn't like Steely Dan. No,
I didn't like it at all. So I'm not putting that one on, even though it fitted in nicely. There's one called Gaslight by a group called Soft Cult, which wasn't very good either, but they're described as a grunge dream pop indie band. All these names that get associated with them or lumped onto these bands doesn't really give you an idea of what they get up to, but it wasn't very good anyway.
Doesn't sound very good.
But I'm putting a country and western song onto Spotify.
What, proper country and western?
Well, yeah, I was aware that we haven't really got any on there, and I do like a little bit of country and western now and again. It's quite a nice little gentle genre to get involved in.
Do you really?
I do. Well, I like the Dead South, which are they're sort of bluegrass, but their last album was much more country and western, and I really liked it, I must admit. But so I'm a bit of a convert to that genre of music, really. But the track that I've chosen to go onto the Spotify list this week is by a group called The Chicks.
It used to be the Dixie Chicks.
I don't know, they probably did. They're again, the US country band. And they do one called Gaslighter, and the words are good.
Oh, I know it. Blimey, that's the first song you've ever put on the list that I already know, I think.
Yeah.
There was one
by Bears Den, I think.
I knew that one, yeah. And of course, I knew the Tibetan singing bowls one.
Well, no, you're a proud owner of one.
Flipping am, yeah. I'll ring that at dinner time. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad it's still being of use.
Oh, yeah. Gaslight is a great tune. Yeah.
Yeah, it is good. So I'm pleased I discovered that and was able to pop that on there.
That's interesting that you should choose that, because I'd say that there's actually not that huge a gap between a song like that, which is pretty commercial country. It's kind of new country. Yeah. And some of the American rock that you show such disdain for.
No, it's a million miles away. So don't try and draw that, drag that into the equation.
You're basically saying you like Toto. That's what's happening here.
No, I'm basically saying you're talking complete shite.
Oh dear, it won't be long now before you're putting something by.
Are you trying to think of an insulting band?
No, I was trying to think of someone who bridges that gap between a band like the Chicks and someone like Toto.
Yeah, there's no comparison. They're worlds apart. So we'll leave it there. Thank you.
John Cougar Mellencamp. There you are. How do you feel about Jack and Diane?
No, a dreadful song.
Yeah, you see, that absolutely sits in that gap between the American rock that you hate and the Chicks.
Yeah.
There's a whole episode in this, I reckon.
Well, I've drawn the line this side of John Cougar Mellencamp. I'm putting a nice little moat again round the Chicks and leaving them there. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
All right, then, mate. Yeah, it is.
All right. Good. I'm going to go out with the dogs before the rains come back. I've got absolutely soaked about the last 3 days straight every walk, and I'm getting a bit bloody tired of it. I don't mind telling you.
Yeah, and I got a bit wet walking to the football yesterday. That was good.
Hopefully you got wet at the football as well, didn't you?
No, we stood under the up in the Genco stand there. You can stay under cover. It's nice.
It would have been quite funny if you'd gone to the farmer's market this morning. It had been pouring with rain. And you got out there and there hadn't been any apples.
As well, yeah, it would have put the tin hat on it, wouldn't it?
I don't know why, but it is quite funny, the mental image of you wandering around an empty field.
It's not an empty field.
For apples.
There's a priory over there, which is stunning. It's lovely just to walk around there. Anyway, I don't mind just walking around there, just chilling out around there. It's beautiful.
Was it meditative?
It was in many ways. Yeah.
Good. That's good, because you're seeing the positive even in disappointment.
Absolutely right.
Buddhist. I
was quite happy that I could just chill out there. Yeah.
All right,
excellent.
Mate.
Good work. Speak to you later.
Laters.
Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.